Now, Nikki has been a guest on over 600 shows, bringing power, passion, and actionable tips to every appearance. He is the #1 international best-selling author of Finish Line Thinking, How to Think and Win Like a Champion, The Thought Leader's Journey, A Fable of Life, and The Power of Connecting, How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network. As a two-time New York Times best-selling author and sought-after speaker for major corporate audiences like RBC, Lululemon, and Royal LePage, Nikki is also the host of the #1 podcast on thought leadership, The Thought Leader Revolution. And so, Nikki, we have so much to cover in the next little bit of time here. And so I know that you have an amazing story about where you come from, and it starts in Iran. And so you're a little boy in Iran. Can you talk about your life?
100%, man. As you said, I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. Now, when I was 11 years old, Jeremy, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. That was one of the cataclysmic events of the latter half of the 20th century. And for me and my family, it completely turned our world upside down. My mom and dad, they could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't going to be a place to raise a Christian family. It was going to become a theocratic tyranny, right? And so what they did is they started to make a plan. And their plan was, we want to get the boys out of Iran, and we want to settle somewhere in the West so that we can raise them in freedom. Right? And they don't have to be a part of what we see coming to Iran. Now, you got to remember, I was 11 when this happened, right. 1978, right? And 11-year-old boy, I don't care about no damn stinking revolution. This is my home. These are my friends. I don't want to leave. Mom, Dad, no, we're not leaving, right? And, you know, they did what every good parent had to do. They said, boys, we're going to leave, but we'll come back, you know, when things get better. Unfortunately, things never really got better.
No.
Right. And so when we first came to the West, brother, I was not happy. Like, oh, shit, this sucks. I want to go back, blah, blah, blah. It was a culture shock, etc. But, you know, like everything, time passed and passed and passed some more. And I started to really see the wisdom, the prescience of my mom and dad, right? They could see that if we stayed in Iran, we were going to be living and creating a legacy of tyranny. And coming to the West allowed them to create for us a legacy of freedom. Now, Jeremy, inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every man, every woman on this planet wants, desires, nay, needs to chart their own course, to march to the tune of their own drummer. And in tyranny, that's impossible. And I started to see what a great gift mom and dad had given to us. I'd become one of the biggest champions the world has ever seen for freedom. I started to read philosophers like the great Ayn Rand. I read her books. I read The Fountainhead first. I read Atlas Shrugged. And then I read Atlas Shrugged in a week. That's almost 1,200 pages.
I've read it 7 times.
Week. So you know, I read it in a week, right? The first time around I read it. I read We the Living. I read Anthem. I read The Virtue of Selfishness. I mean, all of these started to like bubble up inside me. I had professors at university. I had a Czech professor who'd moved to Canada from Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia it was at the time, to escape communism. And he was the biggest anti-communist there was. His name was Dr. Richard Gregor. And he infused in me his stand for freedom. He was a Cold Warrior of the old school. I became a Cold Warrior. I went to university to study Cold War politics. I wanted to be part of the fight for freedom against godless communism, right? And then in the middle of it, America elected a great man to be their president. In 1980, America elected probably one of the top 3 presidents in its history, Ronald Reagan, or as I like to call him, Ronaldus Maximus, because this man was so incredible. He had a vision unlike any president before him, all of whom wanted to contain communism. Containment was their strategy. He said, no, my strategy, my vision, my goal is we win, they lose. We win, they lose. We win, they lose. And he pursued a policy of growing the American economy, which he did better than any president in 100 years. And he pursued a policy of military buildup that bankrupted the Soviet Union because they couldn't keep up. And then he pursued a policy of technological superiority. This man embraced the great Edward Teller's Star Wars vision. Star Wars was the pejorative name the media gave it, but Reagan embraced it to a constellation of weaponry that could shoot nuclear missiles out of the sky. And he told the Soviets, we'll share the technology with you. But of course, they didn't believe him, even though he was sincere, because they would have never shared that weaponry with the United States. They would have used it to win the Cold War. And that's what convinced the Soviets. We cannot defeat the United States. The United States is going to defeat us. If we do not come to an accommodation with them, we're going to lose the Cold War. And that's when they put Gorbachev in power, because all the other drool cup leaders that they had, from Leonid Brezhnev, right, to Konstantin Chernenko, to Yuri Andropov, they were just drooling. They were old men. They were drooling and they died. These were the drool cup years. They literally had drool cups under these people. Kind of like, some unnamed president of the United States these days. That's what the Soviets did back in the day, right? It's just incredible how that happened. So Ronald Reagan defeated the Soviet Union without firing a shot. Freedom took root in formerly enslaved countries in Eastern Europe. And the world has never been the same since. And I could not be a cold warrior because, I graduated university as all this was happening. But I realized at that point in time, brother, for me, that I was going to follow in my father's footsteps and become an entrepreneur. See, my dad is the greatest man I've ever known, Jeremy. My dad was a man who also believed in freedom, but he believed in people. He believed in humanity. He was a professional believer in people. Dad would come to me and say to me every day, son, life is about people. And I'd go, okay, Dad. I'm 8 years old, right? He's telling me this stuff. And then he'd go, but son, also business is about people, not money. And then I go, I'm 8, right? I'm a smart aleck. Dad, what are you talking about? Of course, business is about money. Without money, there can be no business. He's a smart aleck kid telling his dad, thinking he outsmarted him. And Dad said, that's true, son. But without people, there's no need for money. All business is, the awe-inspiring purpose of every business is to solve problems for people for a profit. That's all. You solve acute problems for amazing people, and you make an awesome profit. That is the awe-inspiring purpose of business. Mark von Musser, who you know, said once to me, it's not a numbers game, it's a people's game. And I'm just sitting back going, man, Mark and my dad, those guys would have gotten along. They would have gotten along. Because the truth of the matter is, that's all life is. And I got into business because I wanted to be a man like my father. And Jeremy, my dad, if you knew him, man, you would so be blown away by him. If you were looking for work, Dad would sit you down in his office. He'd call all his entrepreneur buddies, and he would ethically manipulate them all until one of them gave you a job, right? And then if you were trying to start a business, he'd sit you down in his office, he'd listen to your ideas intently, he'd give you great advice, he'd put you in touch with money people for capital. He'd even try to get you your first couple clients. And he did this even if you were a so-called competitor. He didn't really believe in competition. He goes, oh yeah, that's great. You go do that too. That's fantastic. And if you're trying to buy a car or a house and you didn't quite have enough money and the bank wouldn't give you quite enough, he'd top you up with a loan. And then when you tried to pay him back, he wouldn't let you. He wouldn't let you. That's the kind of man my dad was. And people always go to me when they hear this. They go, Nicky, man, this sounds like too good to be true. You're like indulging in a little bit of exaggeration and hero worship type shit. And I said, dude, you don't have to believe me. I'll give you 20 names. Call them. And they said, but who would do that? Like the cynical ones, right? Who would do that? Who would like be that generous? And I said, well, I know at least one person, the late great Napoleon Ballou, my dad. And then they'd go, okay, but why would he do that? What's in it for him? What's the angle? And I'm like, well, the first reason is he was a devout and committed Christian. He believed he'd been blessed by God Almighty and his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And it was his duty to share those blessings with others. He took that very seriously. Secondly, though, he did it because, well, he could. He was rich, right? He had a lot of money. You know what I mean? And, man, I wanted to be like my dad. You have no idea how much I wanted to emulate this man. And when I got into business finally, you know, I was like, I believe in people. Because, Dad, I could hear his words in my ear. Remember, son, that man sitting in front of you, that's someone's son, that's someone's brother, that's someone's husband, that's someone's father. That's a hero to somebody. Maybe they've been burned by somebody just like you. Your job is to restore his faith in humanity. And that's really been my shtick. I got into business because I want to help good people win. And I believe in people. I see the greatness in people. That is my greatest strength. And I professionally believe in people. So when my dad passed 4 years ago, he passed the torch to me. The Billoo torch of believing in your fellow man.
All right. So you just traveled 60,000 miles in like 30 seconds. And I've got so many things to unpack from that. First off, can you talk a little bit about the Christianity that has carried your family, and in what way was Christianity practiced when you were a child in Iran? And in your I know that you still practice and everything like that. Can you talk about the things that really have carried you on your journey, where your family has had to start over and have been exceedingly successful in doing so?
That's a great question. So, believe it or not, in Iran, there was lots of churches back in the day, in the Shah's time, right?
Okay.
And we went to a Christian Sunday school run by some American missionaries. So I kind of went to church, you know, every weekend, right? And mom was super devout, reading the Bible all the time in Farsi. And, you know, the lessons of Christ were kind of a daily thing. Mom and dad took really seriously that you were here to help your fellow man. Like, it was a big deal in our house. Like a big, big, big deal. You know, and when I tell you about my dad and the people he gave money to buy cars and houses, this didn't happen like once every 3-5 years. This would happen 5, 6, 8 times a year. Like, this was a real thing. Wow. I saw generosity firsthand growing up from master practitioners of it, right? Master practitioners of it. And, you know, we celebrated Christmas, Easter, all that good stuff. And we came to Canada, you know, it's a Christian country, ostensibly anyways, not so much these days anymore. But we got to practice this in a place where the majority of the people were Christian. So it was pretty darn amazing. For a long time, I distanced myself from organized religion just because of the Ayatollahs. I just didn't want to be around anybody who pushed organized religion, because I saw what it had done in Iran. But I started to see there's a difference between organized Christianity and organized jihadist Islam as was practiced in Iran. And I came back to it. I got a Bible in my bed, and I read it often. You know, a couple of days ago, I read about 7 or 8 chapters in the book of Job. And that's a book about one of God's faithful servants, Job, who's going through some trials. And because the devil said to God, this man Job, he won't stay loyal and faithful to you if you stop treating him well. He said, okay, I'll show you. And that's the story of Job, of all the trials that God puts him through, and yet his faith remains strong and steady. You know, it's a beautiful thing being a Christian. It's a beautiful thing to have religion in your life because it brings you closer to your Creator. And I think all of us need to be close to our Creator. And this godlessness, this secularism that's creeping all over the Western world, this isn't what won the Cold War. This isn't what won World War II or World War One. You know, the people that practice this form of godlessness, at the end of the day, they're going to lose. They're going to lose here in the temporal world, but they're going to lose in the spiritual world as well.
Well, it's an interesting brand of non-belief, if you will, because
Yeah.
I mean, what I see, it's not just not a belief in God, but it's a belief in nothing, a belief in nothingness, a belief in the vacancy of anything in the hereafter, which takes life down to something that is far less meaningful than I guess, for lack of the trademark term, a purpose-driven life that is
Yes.
based upon a higher purpose, based upon a strong moral basis for living. Why do we do the thing? Why generosity? Why do we do the things we do? Why honesty? Why forgiveness? Why standing up against tyranny? Why these things? Well, because there is an ancient moral imperative for these things among humanity, and that the belief in
Yes.
something beyond the individual is something that holds small and large communities together. And that's really very much what you're talking about here.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Have you ever been to the Ronald Reagan Library in Simi Valley?
I actually have. It's
Oh,
an incredible
good.
place. It's an incredible place. I was there. I was there the summer after he passed in 2004.
Oh, wow. It's a beautiful place. When I was a child, my father worked at NASA, and when the president would land, we would be able to go and watch his motorcade drive by and wave. And I remember very well waving to Ronald Reagan as a very small child.
Yeah.
And I have a little Super 8 video that my dad took with no sound, and then that same limousine is there. And I got to stand next to it. It was really a fantastic thing. Yeah, and
The
so
most moving part of being there was to watch that section of the Berlin Wall after it came down that they sent to the library for him, because they said that more than any man, Ronald Reagan was responsible for the wall falling.
well, and it was his advisors that told him, as I recall, not to say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this
Tear
wall.
down this wall.
And he did it. He did it.
He did it anyways. He didn't care.
And there was one of the last things that has him giving, some particularly rousing speech about the spirit of togetherness, the spirit of America at the time, the kind of patriotism and everything like that. And I just sat there, this is many years ago, thinking, where's this guy right now? I don't see the spirit of this man in the leaders that we have. And this was maybe 10, 15 years ago that I was there. And it was just a very impactful time. And you can walk through Air Force One. It's really an amazing experience.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a cool place to go to. And I remember that summer when he passed, and it was just days after he passed that I was due to go to California for an event there in Los Angeles. And after that, we went to the Presidential Library with a fellow. He drove us there. It was pretty amazing. But the outpouring of love for President Reagan in California at that time was overwhelming. Overwhelming. There were people that were just crying in the street about his passing. I saw so many cars with Reagan Bush bumper stickers. I saw people proudly wearing T-shirts with his image on them. It was something to behold. And I remember that time because it was the first time in my life, living in the West, that I noticed. I cried for Reagan, and I thought he was a great man myself. But I noticed how many people loved this man. And they loved him not because he was this big tyrant who said, "Look at me." They loved him because he was exactly the opposite. He reminds me of the great Roman general Cincinnatus, after whom the city of Cincinnati is named. And Cincinnatus was a general that was sent to fight Rome's enemies. And when he came back home to Rome, he retired to his farm. And he refused all entreaties to go seize the consulship or become a dictator. The phrase, the word dictator is actually an ancient Roman word about somebody who'd be given absolute power for a temporary period of time. That's the difference between dictators in the Roman Republic days and dictators today. He refused. And Reagan was like that. He was so popular that if there hadn't been a 2-term limit on him running and he had run again, he would have overwhelmingly won again. He would have won and won and won and won. The American people loved him. This is how crazy it is. 40% he's a Republican, 40% of Democrats strongly approved of Ronald Reagan. Think about that. Can you imagine something like that in 2024? Because I certainly can't.
No, we can't even agree on the color of milk these days.
Yeah.
Now, I do remember that. I remember it with the eyes of a child because I was born in 1977, and so I was very young during all of this. But I do remember an abiding sense of identity, that the nation had a real sense of identity at the time. And those days are, hopefully to return at some point. It would be a very nice thing. Now, as you grow and you start on your path towards entrepreneurship, you start developing your own. The most important thing about it is that your own philosophy, which is a philosophy that you help people with and you're helping me with right now. And so can you talk about, as you grow and you come of age as a young entrepreneur and go the direction that you're going, the decisions that you made and how you built where you're at right now?
That's a great question. So here's one of the things that I started to see when I got into the world of serving people as a coach of sorts, if you will. There's a lot of good people in business, Jeremy, who have the highest ethics and morals, but they have low sales and marketing skills. And then there's another group who are the polar opposite. They have the worst ethics and morals, but they have really strong sales and marketing skills. I call these people charlatan marketers. The charlatan marketers prey upon those other people, the good people, and they're willing to sell them anything and say anything to get a sale. And unfortunately, the good people, they're not. They don't even go after business they should be going after because they're worried about how they're going to be perceived, and they don't want to be seen as a pushy, slimy, commission breath-reeking salesperson. And this bothered me because I have great sales skills and I have great ethics and morals. And I thought to myself, part of what I want to do is I want to find the good people that have poor sales and marketing skills. I want to persuade them that they need to have good sales and marketing skills, and then I want to give them those good sales and marketing skills. And you know some of the people that we've worked with, and we work with you as well. So I'll give an example on your show of someone you've heard of recently, Dia in our group, right?
Yes.
So Dia is an amazing human being, wonderful person, beautiful heart. And, she was a medical doctor. Sales and marketing weren't really her thing, right? And nor was messaging. And out of the work that we did with Dia, we helped her really do two things well. We helped her really own selling and marketing as a good, and we helped her really tighten her message. And it took a few months. She didn't get a result immediately, but you've heard her say in the group that on April 19th and then May 28th, which are literally 39 days apart, she made a $500,000 sale and a $550,000 sale. That's $1,050,000 in a 39-day period. I got to tell you, that's a spectacular result by anybody's definition. And what made this possible? Well, she embraced that learning how to be effective at sales and marketing is a good and necessary thing. And she also embraced that she needed to have a very tight, dialed in message. She needed to be seen as the go-to authority in her space. And to me, if you want to be successful in business and you're a service-oriented person and one who sells a high-ticket program like you do, like a coaching program of sorts, you need to embrace selling as an unalloyed good, and you need to embrace messaging as an absolute necessity. Because if people don't understand what you do and how you can help them, your sales job will be very difficult. But if they do understand what you do and how you can help them, and you are willing to stay in the tension with them, then you're gonna do great. You're gonna have a beautiful business. Your job when selling is not to just look for what Mark von Muser calls laydowns, which are people that are, yeah, I want to do this right away. Your job is to look for the people that really need your help, but are needing the first piece of coaching they need from you is how to step past their fear so they can actually engage with you.
One of the things that you told me was to begin by contacting the top 200 people in my network and just having a conversation with them and letting them know what I do. And the response that I have received in doing just that has been very positive, because many friendships that I've made over the years, people are very genuinely interested. They've seen some of my branding. They've seen that I have a podcast. They don't exactly know that I'm helping people, but they don't really understand exactly what I'm doing. And they appreciate knowing. And it gets them thinking about, who do they know that might be a perfect fit for the energy that I put out? And so doing that first and making your network your net worth, that whole old, adage and everything like that, it's a tremendously important thing. And I have noticed in me that the messaging is something that isn't as easy to come upon as just writing down a slogan and going for it. So when you help people with developing and dialing in their messaging, what are the things that you help them with, and what are the mistakes you see people make?
That's a great question as well. And I want to first preface it by saying this is a process, not a switch. I can't sit with you, Jeremy, and I've been working with you for a couple months now, and pull a switch and go, okay, Jeremy, your messaging's fixed. We need to actually deliberately go into your messaging and do something called market validation, which is test it out on actual people in the market, and be willing to fail and have our message just land flat before we can tweak it, dial it in, and make it good. The longest it took to dial in someone's message was 14 months. And I got to tell you, this was a rough 14 months. Zero sales in 14 months. Their message was that ineffective, okay?
Okay.
This is a good person with real skills, but the inability to communicate them in a compelling way. And we tried a bunch of stuff to a bunch of groups, and it didn't work. But all that work was like doing reps in the gym. You know what I mean? Reps in the gym. And then all of a sudden, month 15, because 14 months had passed, the beginning of month 15, it all seemed to line up, like within this lady, all of it lined up. And then she got up and called me. She says, I got it. I know it. And I'm like, okay, what? She said, I'm working with pharmacists, because she used to be a pharmacist. And I'm helping these people who are burning out and wanting to quit, and who are committing suicide at the second highest rate among all professionals. Dentists have the highest rate of the suicide. Pharmacists have the second. Lawyers have the third. So I don't know if you knew that, but that's,
I do.
That's I was shocked that lawyers weren't first, but whatever, you know what I mean? And she put a program together, and she called, because she'd belonged to these pharmacy groups, right? Pharmacist groups. And she called up about a dozen pharmacists. She did a presentation, and like 8 of them signed up. She made 200 grand like that.
That's
Like
fantastic.
14 months, zero, right? Zero.
Well,
And I mean,
that's very
zero.
demoralizing. It's a really difficult thing when you're a business owner and you're putting stuff out there that you know is good, you know your value and everything like that, and it's not translating.
It was. And if she was doing it alone, she would have probably quit after a month and a half. And that's what she told us. The reason she didn't quit is because she'd invested in us and we'd invested in her. And I knew there was something there. Like if she had nothing to offer, we would have told her and not signed her up. But I knew she had something. We just weren't figuring it out. And it's not for me to say what that is. It's for her. It has to come from within. It has to come from the depths of her soul. And she kept coming up with stuff. I said, okay, let's try it. We take it to the market. Market just didn't like any of it at first. Market was like saying, F this, shitty message, go away, right? Basically, right? And like, she was like, what do I got to do this right? And I go, you need to do it again. And I kept telling her the Thomas Edison story. So you remember Thomas Edison? She goes, yes, I know, Nikki, you're going to tell me the bloody Thomas Edison story, the 10,000 times he failed. Shut up, shut up. And then I just laugh. I go, yeah, but you know, you've only done like 11. We got like 9,989 more attempts that you got to do before you can quit. And she's like, oh, fuck. And I don't know, 15 months. I think it took like 8 or 9 attempts, 10, 11, 12, whatever the heck the number was. But she got it. And when she got it, brother, her career took off. Her career took off. She never looked back. Because the world of pharmacists, that was a good world for her to be playing in. And she signed up a lot of clients. A lot of clients. And that's a beautiful thing about really the process. You've got to be willing to not nail it the first time. Now, there's so many people that go, no, you got to promise them it'll work the first time. How can I promise them it'll work the first time? I can't. I can't promise you your first message is going to be great. I can't. It's not up to me. It's up to the market. I might think it's great, but if the market disagrees with me, then I'm wrong. You know what I mean? And I tell everybody is, I'm your coach. I'm not the marketplace. The marketplace is who really needs to pass judgment on this. And whatever the marketplace says, don't argue with it. And when people started to really see that, and in this lady's case, they're willing to just wait. Listen, I think I may have told you this story privately, and I haven't shared it on this, but about a year and a half ago, I was overweight. I used to be a fitness trainer, and then I stopped. I got into business coaching, and over a dozen years, I gained over 50 pounds. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was disgusted with how I looked. I found a coach, and I said, I need to change this. Can you help? He said, yes. I asked him, how long did he think it would take? He said to me, 6 months to a year. And then I asked him how soon we could start, and he told me. And then I didn't even ask him his fee. Like, I was so dialed in that I was going to do this. And I said, you better tell me what you charge. Not that I'm going to back up. I just need to know what you charge. And he told me, and it was nothing. For what I was going to get, it was nothing. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, send me the invoice. And I paid it. And you got to get, this was a process. I lost a bit of weight for the first kind of 2-3 weeks, and then I stalled out. And after I stalled out, I just kept checking in with him. We kept tweaking. For every tweak that we made, brother, things started to shift. And about 4 months in, right, I had lost, say, 15, 17 pounds. And what he said to me at that point was, we're going to get this right. And then we made a couple of final tweaks. And those final tweaks were all nutrition related. Because I was working out, weights and cardio every day, right? I took 1 day off weights. I did cardio 7 days a week, 60 minutes of cardio each time. And so the tweak was in the food. We took out all the carbs at one point. except for some oatmeal in the morning. And brother, in the last 2 months, I went down 35 pounds like that. It was like that. I went down 58 pounds in total, but most of the weight loss occurred in the last 2 months because I had done the reps. I put in the process to get there. Very similar to this client that I'm telling you about. She'd done the reps. She was willing to not have to get it right the first time. This is a process. It's not a light switch.
What do you think that people fear the most in trying their hands at entrepreneurship?
That they'll fail, that there's something defective about them, something wrong with them, that they are not cut out to win in life. They're meant to be one of life's lovable losers who never quite gets to the highest pinnacle of success that they've dreamed about. They don't believe they deserve it. They don't believe they can do it. And they're unwilling to examine that belief squarely.
It's a scary thing. I spent all of my career in corporate America, and you learn the combination and technique of being able to exist in these various different systems and how to be successful and how to climb the ladder and everything like that. And then you get out here and it's such a different set of skills. There's a lot that I've seen that really crosses over in terms of professionalism and relationship making and all of that sort of thing. But there is so much more of a Wild West circumstance that exists, and that you're meeting a lot of different kinds of people who have different kinds of business, and you've got to have a pretty good quick assessment on the kind of person that's sitting in front of you. You have to be good at assessing who they are and what they're about and whether or not it's right for you. It's a really interesting thing, but I think that the biggest scary thing is, am I going to make it? And what I'm seeing is that you work a little, you tweak a little, you work a little, you tweak a little, you work a little, you tweak, and then all of a sudden you hear the engine start to sputter to life, and it starts to go. And that's a really fulfilling moment when you're starting to hear that and you're starting to go, oh my gosh, like people are noticing what I'm doing. And the thing that I love about what you do is you tie it so tightly with, it's not just making money. It's about serving your fellow person. It's about finding out how to be of value to others in a non-predatory way. You're not creating Scientology here. You're trying to create something that people literally benefit from, and it makes the world a better place. And you benefit from that too. And so you're being paid in several different ways. You're watching people grow. You're watching people have things that they need, and you get things that you need. And it's such a part of your own philosophy.
Yes. Yes, 1000%. To me, when I see somebody, Jeremy, like someone like yourself, I go, this is a good man. This is an honest man. He's sincere. He wants to be of service to people. And when we spoke the first time, you told me about your corporate background. You told me about the fact that you were doing the podcast. Also told me that you were moving into being an entrepreneur with some trepidation. There were some things you really needed to grasp to be able to be successful at selling. Selling was where you were not feeling confident. You felt confident in all the other aspects. And when I spoke with you, I just thought to myself, this is my dude. This is my man. I know I can help this dude. And when we had the conversation, it was clear to me that you were someone who was seeking someone like me, just like I was seeking someone like you. And when you're an entrepreneur and you're in a service-driven business with high-ticket offers, you're seeking a certain kind of person. First thing we got to do is help you get clear on who that person is. The clearer, the better. And then we've got to help you understand that they're seeking you too. They're seeking you too. I got the result with all the weight loss when I got help. Now remember, I used to be a top fitness trainer. I didn't think I needed help, but I was wrong. When I admitted that I needed help and I got the help, that's when everything took off. And if you're listening to this show, that's probably you. There's something in your world where you need help. Maybe it's your business. Maybe you need help learning how to sell and embrace selling as a positive good. Maybe it's your messaging. Maybe you want to be seen as the go-to thought leader in your space. Maybe it's both. Maybe you need to lose weight. Maybe you need to fix your relationships. I don't know the answer as to what it is. But I promise you, if you're the sort of person that listens to podcasts, you're a seeker. You're seeking help. You're seeking answers for the existential questions of life, relationship, health, and business. And you better find that person that's seeking people like you as a client. Because when you do, that's when the magic happens.
No, it is. It is. And you give people a lot to think about in the way that you talk about business, because it truly is about the people. And you know, the books that you've written are all about that, all about how to find your way to actually breathe into the lives of people. And you know what I found in doing my calling to people is that you find people who need what it is that you have to offer. And I found a handful of those people, and the gratification that it brings me, that I just go, I've known this person for so long, I care about them, and I have what they need right now. I can help them get to the next stage in their own lives. And it's really an incredible thing. And you help people with all sorts of different types of business. It's not just like in the coaching realm and stuff like that, because I know that I'm in a group with you with people who fix classic cars. I think people who do construction, people who do coaching, all sorts of different stuff like that. So what are the different types of businesses that you've helped people build?
They all have one thing in common, in that they have a service component to them, and they're about high ticket. Like they're talking about, $3,000 to $3 million per transaction. You know what I mean? So we're not talking about folks that are selling like $50 or $100 items. So I think that's an important thing to delineate. But other than that, we're open to anybody. The industry isn't the most important thing for us. The most important thing for us is, are they good humans who want to help people? Are they good humans with big hearts who want to help people? That's what I look for. Jeremy, you're asking me, who's your ideal client, Nikki? I'm looking for another Jeremy Van Wert. I'm looking for a good human who wants to help people, who knows his sales skills are, let me just use a technical term to describe them, subpar, stinky, sucky. They've admitted it to themselves. And they've also started to admit to themselves that that is not a good recipe for business success. They need better sales skills. And when I find that person, I'm excited, because I know there's an opportunity for us to work together. The second thing that I look for is somebody with a desire to be a difference maker, to be seen as a thought leader, somebody who wants to be professionally famous and move the thinking forward in their field. And when I met you, I thought, Jeremy knows he needs to learn sales, and I think Jeremy's got the chops to be a thought leader. So I thought to myself, the first thing I want to do is get Jeremy inside of our sales accountability program. But over time, I want Jeremy to come to Toronto and do our thought leader program. And while he's here, I'll buy him a steak, and he can go meet Matt Walsh and watch his classic car crap. You know what I mean?
That's
Because
so good.
because when I met you, I'm like, this is this dude. He's smart. He's a thinker. He's a questioner. He knows a lot. He needs to learn how to commercialize that thought leadership, because yes, he's learning how to sell better, which is very necessary and very important, but he also is a thinker, and he's a guy who wants to move the thinking forward in his field. And guys like that should be professionally famous. Are we looking to make you Joe Rogan? Maybe. That's not what I'm looking to do necessarily, but I'm looking to have people in your field know who the heck you are, and I'm looking to have the types of clients you want to have heard of you and to like want to consume everything you do and want to get in front of you on your calendar, in your workshops, in your coaching programs, reading your books, all of it.
No, that's it's fantastic. And just in the last year, my whole thing has grown so much, and I really feel like I'm going in the right direction. And the wonderful thing about working with you is the sense of empowerment every single week, really getting that warm hand and moving, feeling very much like you're moving the ball forward, having meaningful conversations, not just sending hundreds of cold emails out there and praying that people you don't know are going to return those cold emails, but actually speaking with people who have an understanding and a belief in who it is that you are. So it's been a really incredible journey. And I'm curious, do you have friends and family members that are still in Iran?
Yeah, I do, especially family, man. Lots and lots and lots of family. Yeah. My cousins are in Iran mostly. I've got uncles in Iran, aunts in Iran. I've got some people outside of Iran, but the majority of the family did not leave.
And these people who are still in, and I don't know how this works. Are you allowed to be a Christian in Iran or not?
Well, that's an interesting question. If you were born a Christian, you are, but if you're a Muslim and you try to convert, that's called apostasy, and they'll kill you for it. Like,
Okay. Okay. So you have,
that's
I
not
imagine,
just in Iran, that's in pretty much every Muslim country. You are not allowed to convert from Islam to any other religion. Once you're in for life.
it's astonishing to think about from the perspective of having grown up in the West, that your spiritual walk is so tightly tied to your address of birth. You
Yep.
know, it's so, and you keep in touch with your family members out there?
You know, for the longest time I did. I'm not so in touch with most of them right now. There's a cousin of mine, I still speak with her fairly regularly and through social media. My aunts and uncles, really not so much.
Okay.
My mom is in touch with them still, way more. She's way better about that than any of us are.
Okay.
And I probably should be in touch with them more. You're kind of making me feel a little bit guilty.
Sorry,
It's all
sense.
good, man. It's all good. It's my responsibility. I'm the one who wasn't doing it, but
Well, I didn't mean to touch on pain for you. I just think that it's an
it's not
interesting
pain. It's just
dynamic.
like shit, man. I should call these people. I should.
Real quick here. How are you doing, Nikki?
I'm doing great, bro.
No, this is fantastic. This is such a great and I was talking to my wife, and I was saying, I was saying who I was interviewing today, and she's like, in what way is he mindfully mutinous? I'm like, you just have to listen to this guy. You have to hear his passion. You have to hear how he speaks about these. You'll get it when you hear him. So yeah, you're just doing absolutely fantastic. I wanted to make sure that I hit on the things that you want to hit on here. Is there more that you want me to set up for you to talk about?
You know what, brother? You're doing a great job. Honestly, I think the best podcasts are organic conversations
Yeah, yeah.
where the host has a really clear idea of the type of direction he wants to take in. I like doing that a lot better than, have being fed softball questions all the time. So I'm enjoying myself. I'm good.
Well, you're doing fantastic, and I want to do two things here. I want to take your books because
Sure.
there's a lot there, and I want to ask you to kind of do a little summary on each of these books here.
Sure. I
Um,
got I got all but one of them here right now. So
I've got a finish line thinking, thought leader's journey, and then how to
yep.
activate profitable relationships. So I'm gonna
Yes.
ask you about each of these things,
Sure.
and then we'll kind of see where we go from there.
So my these are my business books, okay? So I've got a couple of political books, I got a children's book, and I got a fitness book. That's the only one I don't have here. I don't know where I put it, but um, so this is Finish Line Thinking, the first edition.
Okay.
I redid it with a second edition that's slightly expanded. This is the Thought Leader's Journey. This is the Power of Connecting, how to activate profitable relationships serving your network, and this is how to create $1 million a year income. So these are my
I'm gonna go.
business
Then
books.
I'm gonna go. Finish line thinking, thought leader's journey, and then you have that other one, the $1 million one. And so we'll have you share each one of them.
Sure.
So okay, we'll count right back into it. 5, 4, 3. Before we go too much further in the interview, I wanted to ask you because you've done so much writing. And one of your biggest books that you've done is Finish Line Thinking, How to Think and Win Like a Champion. Can you talk about what that one's about?
Sure. There's actually two editions of that. I originally wrote it in 2013, and then I expanded it slightly in 2014. And let me just read from the back cover because I think it explains it really well. Like, you ever wondered what makes a champion a champion? What has one person be a champion and another who's as or more talented be and also ran? Well, research shows it's how the champion thinks. Champions engage in what I call finish line thinking. What's finish line thinking? It's the science of how to think and win like a champion. Okay. And in this book, right, I've just taken all the years of experience and insight that I've gleaned from working with Olympic champions, world record holders, business champions, and thought leaders. And I've also delved into the research of folks like Dr. Anders Ericsson. He's the guy who came up with the 10,000 hours theory, and Dr. Angela Lee Duckworth, who wrote the book Grit. And I put this book together with 13 principles of how to think and win like a champion. And what I say is these principles will change your life if you take the time to learn and apply them. So that's what Finish Line Thinking is about. This is actually my most popular book. Both editions are short. One's only 30 pages, the other one's 42 pages. And so people like reading short books. That's one of the things I've discovered. And thousands of people have got this book, have read this book, and benefited from it. And essentially, if you're somebody who's looking to elevate your results in life, first place to start is to shift your thinking. And finish line thinking is the way to go.
Just in talking about this, I was just watching this new documentary that's up on Netflix. It's one of the 30 over 30 ones, and it's about Lance Armstrong. And I was a huge fan of Lance when he was in his big winning streak. And it was just, he was absolutely astonishing to watch. It was one of the greatest spectacles of sporting ever to watch him. And of course, it came out that he was using arguably the same substance that everybody else was using at the time to get ahead. But the thing that I really wanted to kind of focus in on with regard to your book is when you listen to this guy talk, he is unapologetically in charge. And I've watched this documentary with a number of other people who go, gosh, he's such a jerk. He's such an arrogant jerk. And you can hear it in the way he talks, but I listen to the way that he talks and having like come from that cycling world myself, and you have to think like him in order to do what he did. He's dominant. He is unapologetically in charge of the space that he occupies. He is a real alpha male. And is he nice to everybody around him? He's never been nice to everybody around him, but he takes the space and says, "This is mine." And he's done a lot of great things for the world, but it's that self-belief that he has and his ability to own his space that created a lot of the foundation for him being the champion that he ended up becoming. And so, not that he's like necessarily the pinnacle of the personality that people should aim for, but that thinking of actually going for it. I was struck by that. And it sounds like a lot of kind of what you're talking about, the thinking like a champion to be a champion, going for it and not letting things hold you back.
1000%, brother. And most champions that I know who've achieved at the highest levels, right? And the forward to Finish Line Thinking second edition includes a write-up by an Olympic gold medalist. He's a friend of mine. His name's Mark McCoy. And these guys, when it comes to what they do, they're not nice, man. They're like, I gotta get shit done. Get the hell out of my way. You know what I mean? Get the hell out of my way. You're either helping me win or you're in my way. Get out. And that's what it takes to win at the highest level. Now, if you want to win at an okay level, then you don't need to be like that. But if you want to win at the highest level, you need a ruthless streak.
Well, he definitely had that. It's kind of like wanting Mike Tyson to win in the ring and also be a distinguished gentleman at dinner in the evening time, and you can't have both. You can't have both people. Well, now the thought leader's journey. Can you talk about thought leadership and what you teach in, that book and how you help people develop their thought leadership concepts?
So that's a great question as well. So in this book, I tell a fable, right? And in this fable, I talk about a guy. My main hero is a guy. His name is Paulo Nestor, okay? And he works as a sales executive for a technology company, but he hates his job. He absolutely hates his job. And because he hates his job, it's obvious he's miserable, and his boss sees it. And his boss sends him to a couple of gurus to show him how he can create the life of his dreams, right? And I want to pass some lessons on through Paulo Nestor. And what I show people in this book is how to help you become a sought-after thought leader. How you can add $250,000 to $2 million a year to your business within the next year to 3 years. How you can live a life of impact, of influence. How you can win your own self-respect, but also the respect of your professional peers, your family, your friends. Most importantly, how to boost your own self-belief in yourself. Because you've got to. And I want to read a quote from the book. When something's important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. That's from Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
When something's important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. You got to think about that, right? And here's another quote from the book. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact. It's an opinion. Impossible is nothing. Muhammad Ali. This is a story of a young man. And if you're like thinking, how do I go and make my life, my journey bigger and better? Well, this is a great book to read that will help you do that. I got another great quote for you from our very own Mark von Musser. God doesn't make junk, and he didn't start with you. So if you doubt yourself, this book will show you that doubt's going to kill your ambitions dead. And this book is also going to show you how to get clear about how to kill that doubt. Right?
Right.
Here's another great quote. All of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. That's the late, great Walt Disney.
You know, I feel like right now there's just such a sense of gloom over the business world for a lot of people. There's a sense of foreboding and fear in
Yes.
getting into the business world. And you're talking about, you're so much about mindset, so much about the importance of believing in yourself and taking the tangible steps that it takes to be incredible at what you do, and that it really does start. One of the first things that you all were working with me on is eliminating any doubt that the dream can be a reality. And I work with a lot of young people who feel a great sense of the world is not fair. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I can't afford my rent. I don't know what to do with myself. And my gosh, if I could go back 25 years and start my grand adventure as an adult again, how many more chances I would have taken, how many more things I would have rolled the dice on. And it's because I know what I know now about my capabilities. And I just think, what in 20 years will I know about my capabilities that I don't even know now?
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Here's another great quote that underscores what you just said. Everything you've ever wanted in life is on the other side of fear.
This year has been a lot about getting rid of fear for me. And that's something that stands in the way for so many people. And it is at the base of so many people that I work with that have addictions. It's fear of what they are without alcohol, fear of what they are without taking time out of their lives instead of adding more time into them. So yeah, that's incredible. And you also, your other book about the power of connecting, how to achieve profitable relationships by serving your network. This is something that you've really encouraged with me. Serve the people you know. Be of service to the people in your community.
Amen, brother. Amen. Here's the truth. It's not a numbers game, it's a people's game, right? That's what Mark von Musser said.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, right, we live in this crazy time when people crave authentic connection more than ever before, right?
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, well, what about social media? Well, social media, for all its wonder, all its power, that has a massive unintended consequence. It makes a lot of people feel disconnected, right? Not just disconnected, but isolated, even alone, right? And if you look at studies that are done into the incidence of loneliness and depression, those are at all-time highs, right? You think about suicide, right? Suicide is at an all-time high, especially for young men between 19 and 35. It's at almost an epidemic level of proportions, right?
Right.
And you think about it, people like you talk about are doing drugs, they're abusing drugs, they're overdosing, in America, 100,000 plus people a year die from this. 100,000 plus people a year, right? These are sobering and very sad statistics, right? And what do they stem from? They stem from people feeling disconnected, isolated, and alone. So there's people today that really, they hunger for a better way to be connected to people. And if they're in business, they want to be better connected to people so they can sell better. And they want to sell better in a way that makes them feel honorable, not like they have to go take a shower afterwards, right? And this book, The Power of Connecting, really is about how to go into your business and utilize your innate desire to connect with people and to have that grow your business. And it goes into it in a very deep and powerful way.
No, it really is. And how do people get in touch with you, Nikki?
What a great question. So, brother, my name is like unique. There's only one Nicky Billou in the entire world. So if you go and type in NickYBillou on any social media platform, you will find me. And if you say that you were listening to this podcast and you'd like to connect, just do that. But if you want more than just a connection on social media, and you want to have a real connection, a conversation, all you got to do is go to my main website, ecircleacademy.com/appointment, and fill out this short questionnaire that I have there. This questionnaire is basically going to tell me a bit about you, because I won't know you, who you are, what you do for a living, where you're trying to take your business to. And then you can have 45 minutes for free of my best thinking and insights. And you'll have a powerful human connection too. So I encourage you to go do that.
What is your biggest message to the world?
I believe in you. If you've stopped believing in yourself, find someone like me or get on my calendar and I'll show you my belief in you. And that little spark of belief will help you turn your own self-belief into a roaring fire.
Nikki, what I love about you is your giving, beautiful heart. I love your true belief in humanity. I love your clarity. I love your total willingness to speak what is right in your heart. I love that you came from a place that could have clipped your wings, and you came to a world where you could follow the things that were so wonderful and brilliant about you. I'm glad that you had a father that was so incredible, that taught you the power of loving other people. I love that you have taken that legacy and that you have built a business out of it that is about giving and that is about caring for humanity, while also showing people the incredible value that you can create out of caring for other people. I love that you take such an incredible interest in people like me when I'm in the very beginning steps of building the business that is going to be the thing for the rest of my life here. I appreciate the passion that you have for people and the power that you have to influence people. So I just want to thank you for being such an incredible guest.
Brother, and I have no words. Thank you for those kind words. God bless you. It's an honor to know you. It's an honor to watch you grow and develop. I love watching the gratitude videos you post in the group. You know, I love watching every single one of those videos. Sometimes I don't get to them as soon as they get put up, but I do watch every single one because they touch my heart and they remind me of why I do what I do. And I think that's important. So thank you so much.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Mindful Mutiny podcast. That's what helps us grow. In a lifetime, there are more decisions than anybody can count. Living the highest form of yourself is the most rewarding thing that you can do. Make incredible, positive, risky, and bold decisions to be the highest version of you. Now go be something great.